decline quickly. They die. They don't expand. The nature of the game is to fail, generally. So I was completely surprised to still be talking about these things at this day and age, definitely. I had no inkling in 1999 that it would be like this whatsoever.
Daniel, do you have a question?
Yeah, so how did you meet Carlton Mellick and the other key players over at Racerhead Press?
Well, again, it began with just Carlton, who is now his wife is now currently published, but at that point he was, and again, it was just a happenstance by just going on the webpage, finding it. Meeting him in person didn't happen until 2003, I believe, and that was at the very first World Horror Convention that I went to. Not the very first one ever, of course. But there was about a roughly 4-year span when I really didn't know what he looked like, but we communicated rather often still.
Okay. Was it a struggle back then, seeing as they were in Oregon and you were here in Tennessee? I mean,
well, at that point they were in Arizona. Portland, Oregon came about 2006 or 7. I'm not quite sure exactly. But it began in Arizona, and of course it's always a struggle, especially being where I am is not very can't talk today. Literarily inclined. It's not a place where you can really promote yourself very well. So there is the feeling of being in a bubble sometimes, and it does make things more difficult, yes, when you feel that you are creating inside a bubble. But like I say, Bizarro has helped break that bubble for me and make me feel as though I was part of a real family.
yeah, I've heard that the Bizarro Con is one big family reunion, minus the awkwardness, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. No awkwardness at all. Like I say, that's the difference between a family union and Bizarro Con would be the lack of the awkwardness, and maybe more performances and more readings. You don't really get that much in the regular family reunion.
Having to jump into the new Bizarro Authors series, did you volunteer for that, or were you chosen?
I was chosen for it. This was 2009 when it was decided basically that the publisher wished to expand the number of writers in the stable. You know, essentially to bring new blood, but they wanted to do it in an economical way. So, and to save money, there's different various factors, like the author acquires their own cover art, because oftentimes acquiring custom-made art is the most expensive part of getting a book together, and the page count is kept low, so the cover price will be too expensive, because we feel that it's generally that a reader will take a chance on a untested writer with a cheaper book more so than a huge tome. And being part of a series itself, I believe, improves the marketability of a book, again, by an unknown and untested writer. And ever since then, from 2009 to about 2011, I was the sole editor, but now others have come in and kind of lightened the workload, which is nice. Because of 1 year I had 7 that I did completely on my own, and that was a bit chaotic.
Didn't you also write Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dana.
Didn't you also write a choose-your-own-adventure type book? Like an adult version, Ocean of Lard?
Yeah, that was my second book. Well, I call it my book 1.5 because it was co-written with Carlton Mellick. But we both had the idea that we had wanted to do kind of an adult choose-your-own-adventure. But so we said, well, since we both had this idea, why don't we combine our forces and do one book? And hence it came about in, I believe it was written in 2003 and published in 2005.
And that's one I haven't gotten to yet, but I can't wait to. So if the robots don't get you an Ocean of Lard, then some chances are something else will, right?
Well, some people definitely get eaten by robots. So, well, maybe there's a few happy endings, but there are other few and far between.
I'm glad you said that, because you are not one for happy endings, and I think that you have a good reason for that. Would you care to explain? Because Space Walrus I read before House of Houses, and I thought Space Walrus ended roughly, but House of Houses, I mean, I remember you signed my copy of House of Houses a while back. It said, "Sorry, I killed everyone," which is a hoot. But, I mean, you seem to specialize in dismal endings. And do you think that that's because of your outlook on life, or is that just what the plot requires?
Well, often it's what the plot requires, but other times too. Not all my books are totally bleak endings. Those two happen to be rather bleak. House of Houses probably especially. But generally, I feel that in life, not everything is happy. People don't always get to grow. People don't always survive. And to write books, every single book where everyone survives, everyone gets to grow, everyone lives happily ever after, it's kind of cheap. Right. So sometimes you got to realize that bad things happen, and it happens in life, and it can easily be reflected in the book.
Yeah, I don't think there was any way for Helen and Carlos to truly end up happily ever after, but you have flirted with a few happy endings, right?
Yes.
And let's see, you won the Wonderland Award in what year? For
I believe it was
for House of Houses, right?
Yeah, House of Houses. I believe that was 2010.
Mm-hmm. And what did that feel like, being there at Bizarro Con? And
it felt great because it was it's the community that I love that telling me that I hadn't wasted my time, that what I had done affected them on a certain level, and that I wasn't just typing into the void. And especially because it's them, my kind of extended family, it felt all the more better just to have them be the ones to give that award to me.
That was you were selected by your peers, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's an award for Bizarro Con itself.
Yeah, the preliminary voting is open to all, and the voting for the final ballot is open to attendees of the convention.
Mm-hmm. Now, describe the atmosphere in a little more detail for Bizarro Con. How is it different from other conventions? You said that it was like a big family of weirdos, right? Which is great.
I mean, it really is. I mean, it's open. It's fun. It's also a place you're going to learn, because we have plenty of workshops. We have plenty of meetings. We have plenty of panels. But we also have the nights, and the nights are generally a time where, you'll really get to know people, and that's the I mean, it's really hard to describe Bizarro Con to somebody who hasn't been. It has a certain magic to it that you just have to experience, and if you aren't there, I can talk about it, but you really won't get the gist.
Didn't Cameron Pierce dress up as a banana and propose to his girlfriend at the time at the Bizarro Con?
Yeah, that was a rather magical moment. That was
so that's one of many.
Fruit out, I believe.
Wow. Now, I mentioned House of Houses, and I got a little bit ahead of myself. Grape City. You said that that's your least favorite novel. Why do you suppose that is? And didn't you do a revised version of that one?
Oh yes. I'm happy with it now. It's just it was my third book, but it's really my second one, because like I said, it was between Ocean of Lard was between that book and Shall We Gather the Garden, and so I kind of considered it, I guess, my sophomore slump when I first wrote it. I'm very critical of my own writing to begin with, and I allowed some errors and typos to slip in because I thought I'd sent a certain version to the publisher when I had not. And that colored my outlook on it for a long time. And just because I'm very hard on myself in general. So basically, I'm learning to get past that. But especially when Grape City was written, and didn't have as many books, I was very, very critical.
And of course, for those who might not have had the fortune of reading A Grape City, which it's actually a great novel. I agree, you're too hard on yourself. It's about a demon who is laid off from hell and is forced to take a fast food job up on the surface world. And he tries dating mortal women, and it just doesn't work out. He's actually taken aback at their lack of morals. A demon, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
Which I thought was very ironic and just a keystone of Bizarro. Now, after Great City was the greatest fucking moment in sports, which Carlton Mellick also helped you along with that one, as far as inserting poetry and make artwork.
The artwork, yeah. I wrote the poems, and he provided the artwork for the poems. At least in the version that is a standalone. There was also there's a version in the starter kit which doesn't have the poems or the artwork.
Let's see. Now, you are still an editor for the new Bizarro Authors series. Your most recent one, Kitten, by Gary Arthur Brown.
Yeah.
That's would you say that's one of your favorites? Do you have any favorites that you've helped edit in the new Bizarro Authors series? Least favorite? Well, I mean, don't say least favorite, but say your favorites that hold a special place in your heart.
Well, it's hard for me to say what is. They're all some of my children. I brought them in. I hopefully edited them in such a way that allowed them to come into the world more fully formed. And I hope the best for all of them. I want them all to succeed. I want them all to become full-fledged, full-time Eraserhead Press writers. But I guess I'll talk about Mr. Brown's book especially, just because it was the only book that I personally accepted last year into the new Bizarro series. Every other one was accepted by Coach Schimmel, who at that point was the second new Bizarro series. There's now an editor. There's now a third, and that third one is Bradley Sash. So I guess it is. So Kitten is rather special to me in that, like I say, it was the only book from last year that I took.
Yeah, I found that Kevin Schimmel has. He seems to pass the majority of NBA's books. And for those who don't know, the new Bizarro Authors series is for those who want to get their feet into the Bizarro genre. They have a 1-year probationary period, and if they sell enough books, they can continue in their second year and then on. And a lot of brilliant authors have been discovered as a result of that. From Christine Pierce, let's see, Michael Allen Rose with Party Wolves in My Skull. I know you edited that one. That's one of my personal favorites. Justin Grimble, David Barbie, right?
Yeah, Schimmel edited Grimble, and I edited Barbie.
Oh, okay. Daniel, do you have a question?
Oh, yeah, I know that your book, Night of the Assholes, was sort of your tribute to George Romero, right?
Yeah, Night of the Living Dead especially, yeah.
Yeah, how did that come about?
Well, Night of the Living Dead, to be honest, was the only movie when I was a kid that truly scared me. There was something about the black and white and the black and white screen and the music. It was all stock music, but it was so effective. And just when the image, the title screen came up, and that music started, and the cars going down the road. I mean, just that alone was enough to scare me. And when the movie progressed, my lord, I'd never seen anything like it. And to this day, I still kind of feel that twinge when I watch that movie. So I've never really done a parody before, so if I'm going to do any parody, it probably would have been that movie just because it had that effect on me. But instead of zombies, it's assholes. And by assholes, I don't mean the butt part. I mean, rude people, obnoxious people, cruel people, or just flat-out evil people in general. And if you are an asshole to an asshole, you become an asshole yourself.
Yeah.
Sounds like non-fiction.
It kind of is.
But what mindset were you in? Now this brings us to one of my favorites of yours, The Traveling Dildo Salesman, your first short story collection, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
What mindset were you in when you wrote this very quirky offbeat collection?
So, the stories included were spanning all over time and space, really. The oldest one was about 12, and the newest one was, of course, the title story. And really, a lot of those stories in there came from the Gross Out contest that I haven't read in the World Horror Convention. I have not read for a while there. But I guess another reason some of the stories can be a little more visceral than some of my other stories is because they were written specifically to be